authorize yourself. So many people are waiting for someone else to authorize them, someone else to give them permission, you see. You do not need permission to be yourself. I do not need permission to be myself. You want to say that? I do not need permission to be myself. Exactly. And it's all this subservient kind of a thing. See, our nature is to serve. It really is. The nature is automatically, we love giving. And you see that in little children, smaller. And then can come a thought, oh, what will my parents say, so I'm not going to give. I'm not going to share because they told me don't do that, you won't have anything left. Because the parents are giving suggestions to the children through the words, the sounds, the meanings, and the intentions on all these levels. Before I took birth this time, I remember that my mother was envious and my dad was afraid. Because we're psychic. They call it psychic. It's not a sidekick. It's our own intuitive nature that's natural to us because we're part of who and what is all-knowing, all-powerful, and everywhere present. That's part of our qualities. And we are part of that. That is that. A part of, yes, that's who we are. So we have those same qualities. Authorizing yourself is giving yourself permission. And I had a friend who would say, oh, I don't belong to go to that nice place because I don't belong there. In a sense, she thought it as a financial thing. That meant people who had more money and more stuff were more qualified, and only those people could go there. But other people, if they didn't, they're not worth anything, so they can't go there. And they got to go somewhere else because you don't belong here. Well, maybe one sense you don't want to be there. Doesn't mean you can't be there if you want to be, but it may be also a place you don't want to be because consciousness is contagious. We start taking on the consciousness of those people and that we are around and picking up on their beliefs. Therefore, now they're authorizing us. And the one thing that's been authorizing people also is their mind. And you have to understand, when you look at the mind wants to kill, destroy, eliminate, get rid of, fear, be guilty about, hatred, resentment, grudges. The mind. People say, well, my mind is good. First of all, as a divine being, you don't need segments like that. You don't need parts. You are a whole, complete, and perfect being. So then to operate in this realm, then there's certain apparatus that's important to have in order to, in a sense, forget or play the game, as some people say, okay? So you listened, is the mind authorizing you what's possible and what isn't? And as soon as, I want you to know how tricky your mind is. You've got to watch it to find out. You start to really feel good because of something. You start to say, oh, but how can you feel good when everybody else is feeling so bad? You're so selfish and self-centered. Nasty stuff. So it's this whole system is set up on self-abuse. A system to set up that you will always keep so-called shooting yourself in the foot. You will always find something wrong and bad and not enough. Always find a way to feel bad. And when you notice that's the tendency in what's happening, and then there's death, and then there's sickness, and they say at that age you'll have lost your mind, and then you're no good, and there's a it's on and on and on. Beliefs, suggestions, authorizing, writing a story on that, making it real, playing a part, it's a game, all this stuff. And this authorizing is to authorize yourself, and that means the divine who you really are. And to know who you really are, I also found it was really such a value to me to study the Bhagavad Gita along with studying the Essenes and the teachings of Jesus and metaphysical teachings of some wonderful students and all of this. And many, many different paths, in my search to find myself, so to speak, or to find out who I am or what's possible, is to that realization of how we are all the same and yet we're all different. You and I are already unified. We are already one, unified in that way, and we're also different. And yet, in one sense, Well, what's true about us all on the spiritual level, we're all in common, but not on the mental, not on the material. You know, the second Hermetic axiom, as above, so below, it's not as below, so above. That is not it. There's a reversal of it. And when you do that, you then take the pain and the suffering that we perceive around us or we've gone through, the so-called evil of it all, and we project that onto the divine. And now we say good and evil here are opposites, and you need good to have evil, you need evil to have good. No, that's not true. Like and dislike, that's a whole different ballgame. You have to understand words. And when you understand the words and what the meaning is, and that meaning is meant to convey a narrative to you, a story, a concept, a suggestion. And when we accept those suggestions, as you can perceive how we all have done this, and it's almost always we get into the trap of you're going to have it better, you're going to have more, and each one leads to a greater, what would you say, bondage to materialism, money, all of these kind of things. And anything manufactured, you see. And what that whole consciousness is about, what can I use that's on the earth and make a product from and make money from? What can I use from somebody else to make a product from and make money from? So I can enjoy 5 cents gratification. So I can enjoy myself. But it's not yourself you're enjoying. And what happens is oftentimes the intoxication is to shut down the mind so the person can experience some peace. So the person, and that's why oftentimes sex addicts, my sense of that is so addicted to that pleasure of being beyond the mind and the ecstatic that they believe it comes from the sex. But what it also is, it's a release of all of the suffering and all the tension and all of the fear that goes to an extreme where the person is actually experiencing the bliss of who they are naturally, that you can experience always. And when you are always, you don't have any addictions in that sense. You do what you do because it works for you. The food that you eat, what you take into your body, what you do is all done as a sacrament. It's all out of love. It's all out of appreciation. And I would suggest, in this sense of authorizing yourself, is to start appreciate and start giving the credit to the divine within, that is your divine partner. And we say, well, that's on the outside. No, I'm not giving power on anyone on anything on the outside, because it's all an inside job, basically. And when we know that and we are that, you don't have to, you don't let anyone else be your authority, because you choose always the topmost that's available to any living entity. And that always comes from being the topmost of what's possible of any living entity. And that would be to be only and all who you really are, instead of what you've been taught to be, programmed to be, age, this body, letting ourselves feel suffering because of the body and what it looks like and what it doesn't look like, and suffering because of what you have and what you don't have, or how much sex you have or you don't, or how much this. It's just, it goes on and on and on, where it's to keep people always in a sense of not enough, because that's the program, that you're not good enough. And so then you're going to have the royalty, or whoever's leading you, or whoever you've set up there. They're better than you are. No, they're not. That's a lie. No one's better than you are, nor worse. Did you get it? Who we are is all whole, complete, and perfect, and intact, and never destructible. Indestructible does not exist. And when you perceive the spirit behind all. And authorize yourself that it's okay for you to be you. It's okay for you to take care of yourself. It's okay for the things that, in a sense, that you've had to do that was to help you take care of yourself. Why other people may have interpreted that as that was selfish on your part. And yet it's not selfish to take care of your own mental state, your emotional state. That is your own consciousness. And then when you know who you are and in charge of it, no one can knock you off. And if they do for a moment, you get back into yourself, because you see how you stepped out and you gave the language, you gave the narrative, you gave the other the power to knock you off your own state of beingness. And that's why going barefooted is such a cool thing, that you can actually merge and center into the earth, and then with the sole of your feet, and then with your soul, the soul of the earth, and start bringing back together all those parts of ourselves that we have separated and fragmented out there. And as you do, you start bringing in, owning your own intuition, owning your own inner guidance, owning and harmonizing that which is has the most integrity, such as nature. And then determining who you're around and what you're with and what suggestions you accept and ones you do not accept. People may say it's a crime for you to take care of yourself. No. When you take care of yourself, you're taking care of all. Absolutely. Because when you're who you are, you're kind of animals, humans, you know who you are, you walk in the glory of the moment, the pleasure of the divine, and it's beyond magic. It's beyond little Harry Potter and these little sticky wickies and all these little things. Oh boy, that's magic. Black magic. Not good. These are all teaching children some ugly things. Oh, it teaches them to... No. Teaching them about the divine, the spirit, the presence, where there is no evil and there is no opposite of good. And that's who you are.